All right, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 6 of Through the Looking Glass. And today we're kind of following up the topic of discussion that we ended episode 5 with. It took me a while to kind of sit in that space after hearing, I'm not going to say negative uh, information about how men kind of see females who are kind of determined and really focused on getting to the next level and how that can be intimidating. And it really took some time to really figure out who or what or how to follow that up because I didn't want people to listen to that and say, well, yeah, I agree with that. And what's the point of even trying to find somebody if there's no one to be found who's cool with that, right? So I found somebody. And who we're going to be talking to today, he's really somebody who, in my opinion, is probably at genius level, extremely smart, probably the only other person on the planet that I'll take redirection from other than my brother. And when he asks me or second guess or questions things that I say, that I actually go back and research it. So I'm super excited to have him on the call today as we talk about kind of matching mindset with people that you're in a relationship with and how that impacts yourself, not just the relationship, but who you are as a person. So, Davian is here, and I'll let him kind of go into his story and whatever he feels comfortable with sharing. But like I said, he's really high in his field. He's come and kind of crushed it when it comes to just progressing in his arena. So having a growth mindset is a requirement. But I'm not going to speak for you. I'm going to throw it to you, Davian. How would you feel, first of all, say hi to the listeners. Let me shush. Go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Hi, listeners, and thank you, Michelle, for that overrated uh, introduction. I appreciate it.
Super, not overrated. But yeah, looking.
Embellish.
Oh,
We use the term embellish.
fine. We'll do that if that's what you want. Um, but looking at your story, right? Looking at your progression to from where you were to where you're at now. How do you feel that could have been impacted if you weren't surrounded by not just people, but you know, a space where you had the ability to grow and people pushing you out of your comfort zone? Like, what would your life or your experience look like without that going on?
Did I have that?
I mean, I'm pretty sure you had some friends who were kind of pushing you out your comfort zone. And when you, I don't know, maybe you did. Maybe you did it all on your
Yeah.
own.
I mean, I'll say the last few years, I may have, but um, prior to that, I really didn't. I was at it, by myself, and I think if I'd had someone like that, earlier when I was becoming a man and growing into the person I am today, I probably would be a lot further along in my life than I am now.
So here's a question then with that statement, with that same kind of foundation. So do you feel if you would have been partnered up with somebody who had like a fixed mindset? And for the listeners, fixed mindset just means somebody who doesn't want to go out their comfort zone. They don't push their partner um, to kind of be at a higher level. In some instances, they might even hold their partner back because they don't want to see that individual progress beyond that. So, do you think if you had somebody who was kind of in that space, you would have been able to get to where you're at right now?
In what space is that?
So somebody who's kind of like not really pushing you to go out your comfort zone, not really supporting you as you kind of push and be determined to get where you're at today.
At this point, I don't think it would matter, and I say that because that's just who I am. That's just how I'm built now, um, and that's part of being a man or growing into a man. I just a person. Period. you grow into who you are, and once you are who you are, once you find your calling in life, and you know your path, and you have a vision, and you are going to be successful in that, no matter what. So outside, or I wouldn't say outside, but having people, you know, motivate you or push you, that doesn't matter as far as the destination. As far as the path, it may help, but as far as the destination, it really doesn't. But I think it's important, especially for men, when you're younger, like when you're a young adult, growing into manhood, finding yourself, it's important not to be with someone who has a limited mindset or a limited set of values, especially work ethic, things of that nature.
So you said as a man. So I kind of want to follow on that. You wouldn't feel that that's just as important for a female?
Um, I mean, I did. I thought I corrected it after I said it. I said for anyone. I thought I did.
Okay, you did
But
say for anyone.
but honestly, um, for women, I think, and this is just, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but men and women are different. We're built differently. Um, and of course, this is not all inclusive. There's no one size fits all for anything. But a lot of times, especially in our society, women are more followers than men are. As far as if they're with a man, they'll a lot of times they'll take on some of the characteristics of that man. Religion, they'll follow the religion that man does, and that not every woman, but a lot of times they do. A lot of the habits that man has, they'll pick those up. But men, especially after a certain age, they aren't really like that. They're kind of, who they are is who they are, and they're gonna be that. You know, and that's why I say for men, it's important when you're younger and more impressionable to have a partner that ideals line up to yours.
Okay.
And it's probably more important for women because, like I said, women tend to be, women are absorbers, if that makes any sense. That's just my opinion. Women, they absorb, and I think it's probably more important for if you're a smart, ambitious woman. It's very important for you to be with a man that's going to allow you or encourage you to be who you are. Because a lot of men, especially listening to your last podcast, a lot of men can't take ambitious, smart, bright, insightful women, which is kind of weird to me, but a lot of men can't take that.
Amazing insight. So I'm going to follow up that with what would you tell females though who are running into that issue? Because I know after the podcast, I had so many people kind of reaching out saying, so what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, just not be who I am? Am I going to be single because I can't find somebody who is a strong enough male? Or like in the last podcast, like somebody was even suggesting you might have to move to find somebody who is okay and comfortable with somebody who was goal driven and whatnot. So what would you say to females who really had an issue? I'm not going to say issue, but really had some heartburn over those statements? Because I mean, honestly, from that feedback was, okay, we are supposed to not be great. We are not supposed to be these not so much hard charging, but be who we are, because it's intimidating. So what would you say to
Uh,
individuals like that?
but that's not what I heard. Not to not answer your question, but that's not what I heard when I heard that. I heard leave him alone. That was the first thing I heard. And that's what you have to do. You have to set those standards. You can't. Again, this kind of goes back to what I said about once a man hits a certain age, and usually it's about 30, but for some men it's later. He is who he is. So if you're an ambitious woman, if you're, a smart woman, if you're an intelligent woman, if you're a woman with great ideas, and you don't wait for people to do things for you, you find a way for things to happen. And you're with a man that doesn't respect that, doesn't appreciate that, doesn't encourage that, then you've got to see that for what it is and move on. You know what?
Move on to what? Like, what if
Move
people,
on, period. Like, you can't wait, 2, 3, 4 years. You've wasted time. Now you're invested. Now you feel like you have to stay. I mean, I think, the last podcast it was said, you have to leave it alone. Like as soon as you see those signs, if that's what you want, if you don't want, a man that's going to appreciate, what you bring to the table, then stay where you are. But if you do, you just, you have to move on. And, every, some things aren't easy. And some things are very hard. Some things take a long time to find. So you just have to be patient that you'll find someone that fits those values that you're looking for, and if not, you just have to be alone.
wow.
I mean, that's
Sorry, ladies.
or,
Sorry.
or or settle. You can always settle. That's an option as well. Settling is an option.
Okay. So, question. We hear the term so often being equally yoked. Is this an example of what that is? And what exactly does that term mean to you? And once you find someone who's equally yoked, is it an up leveling of a sort, or when you realize you're in a relationship that's not equally yoked, like what does that look like? How do you know? This is a lot of questions, so follow me. How do you know that somebody appreciates what you bring to the table? How do you know somebody isn't like cheering you on in your face but holding resentment inside when you're not around? Because I've seen that happen too. Like in the front, on the front surface, it's like, yeah, go get it. But then right when they leave, there's some resentment because I can't get to that level. I'm not where she's at. I don't understand why she has to go. But then to your face, it's kind of like I'm being all supportive. So, A, what does equally yoked mean to you? And what are some examples of that? And B, how do you really know if somebody's appreciating what you're bringing to the table or kind of just playing the role to maintain the relationship?
Those are a lot of questions. Let me write those down. Um,
It is, but you're so smart. Your brain is so it's it's so big. So
Why?
I'm pretty sure you can remember. Shut
Um, Equally yoked, it is a biblical term, um, where it says, be not yoked with non-believers. I believe, don't quote me on that. But, and to me, when you're talking about relationships, that can mean different things to different people. Um, and the way I look at it is, what do you value most in a relationship, right? So if my value is progression, financial responsibility, um, you know, living that type of life, then I can't be with someone who doesn't value that, right? Not saying that they have to come into the relationship with those things already, but they do have to value those, meaning they're trying to get there, and we're going to help each other get to those levels. To that level. It could also mean, your social life. Are you uh, introverted or extroverted? Do you like to party? Do you like to sit home and chill? I'm a boring sit at home and chill type. So if a woman likes to go out all the time and want to go out to eat every night and want to go club on the weekends and be on Instagram posting couple pics, and that we're probably not going to work. That's and it can mean different things. So when I say unequally yoked, when I think of it, I think of whatever you place value on. Whatever is the highest priority to you. You can't be with someone who don't share those same priorities. So there are other areas. Let's say the going out thing is not important to me. I don't mind, but her progression in her career, her intelligence level, those things are important to me. So I may be okay with her if she likes to go out and she has a bubbly personality and these things, but she has those other things that I value. So even though she goes out and I don't like to go out, to me we're still equally yoked because the things I value, she values those same things. So that's just my opinion. If I was able to explain that, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You explained it well. So question, two things, two follow-up questions to your answer. So, mm, mm, maybe not. Maybe not. I'm
No,
probably
let's
no.
let's
Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the
no. Let's get it out. Let's see what happens.
so intelligence. Intelligence, like for me, is huge. Like I can excuse a lot of different things, but intelligence not being matched with somebody who has the same or higher intelligence level, like that's a need. That's like a huge requirement. Now, in my past, I have had relationships where the person was not as bright as I would like them to be. And my brother told me that that was actually a form of control because I would use my intelligence level as a control mechanism. Makes me sound like a horrible person. That's a whole topic for another episode.
Is it really?
It's so is. So, question, because you're one of the smart people. How, but there's also challenges when you are matched with somebody who's smart. Like when two smart people are together, you're going to have challenges too. And I know myself being with somebody who's smart, and sometimes I feel um exceeds me in different areas. There was a learning curve there. Um and at times it was more of, I felt we were in competition with one another. It was a situation of, when I would say things, he would fact check me when I would do things. And then that was pissing me off because I'm like, are you insulting my intelligence? What the hell? If I'm saying it, I'm not going to give you stuff that's not factual. But because he was intelligent, when he would do that, it would have me question, okay, maybe I need to double check. So then it was like, before I would say anything, I would double check it before I even present it to him because I knew I might get some pushback. So it took some time for us to get into a groove where we just accepted that we're both two smart people. And yeah, we're going to have challenges in that regard. But I tell people a lot of times it's really good to find people who are smarter in different areas. Um, where you don't have to do that competition thing. So my question for you is, like, when you're paired with somebody who is intelligent as well, have you run into any challenges where that's concerned? Because we can look at it as being equally yoked, but that does come with some challenges you have to look at, right?
It does. Even using your example, you say he would fact check you. Um, I assume he would let you know if you were wrong, right?
Oh, in grand fashion.
Okay. What about if you were right?
Nah, not so much grand fashion. If
Really?
I was right, if
That's
I was
interesting.
right.
Mm. So he sound like he might have some narcissistic tendencies or something. But
Hey, I kind of thrown that
that's,
out a couple times at him, but he fact checks that too. So I don't know.
mm. But no, honestly, it shouldn't be a competition. Especially if you guys are partnered up. It's a partnership. So there shouldn't be any competition whatsoever. And I would say if you're with someone and it feels like a competition, just talk about it. Part of being intelligence is also having emotional intelligence and being able to pick up on emotional cues. And maybe he wasn't uh, emotionally intelligent enough to pick up on the fact that you know the way he was, he may not have meant anything by it, but the way he was bringing it up as far as fact checking you were causing you to have doubts. Well, I doubt you were having doubts within yourself, but we're causing you to kind of doubt yourself and your status in the relationship. So, um, I personally, I don't, look at it that way. it's not a competition. It's you're with somebody that hopefully you help them and they help you. Um, so I agree with what you said about one person being better at other areas, because you have to have a balance in a relationship, almost like a yin and a yang. Like you have to have a balance, so you guys can be the perfect one together. So I don't look at it like that. I love intelligence in a woman. I love a woman that's able to speak her mind, not in a masculine way. I don't want not in a masculine way, but I do appreciate an intelligent woman.
So when you say speaking her mind in a masculine way, what does that look like in behaviors?
Uh, there's not one size fits all, but there are some, especially a lot of times if a woman is very high up in the corporate world. Unfortunately, the corporate world tends to be very masculine, and they do look down on what are considered feminine traits. So women that progress in corporate, they tend to have sort of masculine energy about them, and it's understandable because they have to fit into the environment they're in order to succeed. But when you bring that home, or when you're dealing with your partner and you're just it can be your tone, it could be giving ultimatums, uh, especially if you have a man of a certain ilk, giving ultimatums and things like that, can come off sort of masculine, and it can be unnerving. So, though that's what I mean by masculinity. But there's ways to, have a conversation and say what you mean, and not, you know, barking.
Interesting. Interesting.
Get that
Interesting.
sternness.
So would you
What?
say someone, a female, because again, and this is something that has actually been something that was talked about in a previous podcast when it was all females, about we have males who come to us and say, oh, you're too masculine, blah blah blah, masculine. But here's the deal, like the world has created the environment where we have to be. Like I literally do not want to have to be in a masculine energy a majority of the time. Like I don't, but I don't have a choice. Like I'm a single parent, I'm responsible for 3 kids. I'm responsible for making sure bills are paid, people are fed. I'm responsible for like crap at work. Like I have to be in the masculine role a lot of the time because I got to get stuff done. Like a feminine energy is more of receptive, like you were saying earlier, in allowing things to happen. But I don't have the luxury. And there's many people out here who don't have the luxury. So what happens is it's a situation that's built where we have to adjust, where men don't have to do that, but females do. It's kind of like, okay, I have to be this to everybody else, but when I'm with my man, I have to turn it off. And that's not as easy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're used to functioning in a certain role because you have to get stuff done, but then you bump up to a really masculine energy and it's like, oh, this ain't gonna work because we can't have 2 men in a relationship, which I think I've heard before. So it's a situation of, okay, now I have to turn it off when I'm with him, but when he's not around, I got to turn it back on. And that can be very challenging. So what would your suggestion be for people who are dealing with that?
Adjust. I mean, honestly, adjust. And the reason why I say that is because if he's the masculine man that you're describing, he's not gonna put up with it. I mean, it is not. It
You're
is,
right. You're right.
and again, that's not him not appreciating you and not, you know, loving you for you or whatever. It's just he's not gonna put up with it. Like, and just like if it was the other way around, if this man had a lot of qualities you like, but he just had a very feminine energy that irked you, you wouldn't put up with it. So he would either have to adjust or you would move on. And it's the same thing for um men, a lot of times, if it's intimidation, then the man usually isn't going to say anything.
Why?
He's just going
Why?
because it's intimidation. So he's scared. So you frighten him. You know what I'm saying? So he's just gonna either make an excuse or lie about the reason why you guys can't be together or something like that. But if he really loves you, or I wouldn't even say love you, if he appreciates what you have to offer and he thinks you guys would be a great match, but that energy you giving off is off-putting to him, he's gonna say it. And he's telling you so you can either work on it, you guys can talk about it, or you may come to an understanding. You may say, hey, this is what I do for work, blah, blah, blah. This is, how I maneuver. And he may be like, you know what? Okay, but just throw on a teddy for me tonight and we'll forget about it. You know what I'm saying? Just
What the hell is
do
he?
something to I'm just compromising. It's compromising. He just put on an apron and bake me a cake. You know what I'm saying? Like, just some type of compromise. Just to
Davian.
but the fact that he's bringing it up, that to me that says that appreciate the fact that he's bringing it up. Don't look at everything as a diss. Sometimes it's just a man letting you know where he stands emotionally.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. But here's another thing though. Like men want us to be all feminine and everything else, but here's a secret, and all for the dudes who are listening, here's a secret. A female's not going to show her vulnerability if she doesn't feel safe. And that's the key. Like there has to be safety, a space that's provided that she feels safe to say, okay, I can let down this guard. I can put down all this armor because I know he's going to take care of me. I know, and not take care of me like financially and everything else. I'm talking about emotionally, spiritually, like all the other ease, like if we don't feel safe, we're not going to be able to adjust. So I know you're saying adjust. He's brought it up to for your attention, so you need to adjust. But if he's not providing a space where that female feels safe, she's going to be wearing a masculine mask. That sounded weird. She's going to be wearing that mask because she feels she has to. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It does, but can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
If she feels like that, should she be there?
That's a deep question, Davian.
And that kind of goes back to what I said earlier about move on. So and I know everything isn't cut and dry, like it's not, easy to do, but if you have to have a mask on, because by nature, I don't think women are masculine. Some maybe 2% maybe, born masculine. But others they learn through societal behaviors how
Exactly.
to be masculine in order to adapt to certain situations. And that's
Assimilate to what the hell we're being placed in.
and
I
not just placed in situations, but as far as the workforce, like I said, you're not going to be a manager or director or CEO, you know, coming in acting like Mother Goose or whatever female entity. Like you have to have some type of what people would call masculine traits, and unfortunately, that's kind of where we are as a society right now.
So you don't think that's a challenge?
So say that again.
You don't think that's a challenge then? So when you have two people and the male is like, the man, and she's like, okay, cool. I like the fact that you're the man because yeah, I might be the boss when I'm out in the streets, but when I come home, I don't want to be. Like I don't want to be. But then there's the challenge of adjusting, like how to turn it off.
If All right, so I want to make sure I'm listening to you correctly. I don't want to, assume. So what you're telling me is that a lot of the women that you speak to, because of situations, whether it's their family situation or their work situation, they have grown to have masculine tendencies, right?
Correct.
And when they're running into certain men, it is causing them to have issues with those relationships because the men don't like that masculine energy that they're bringing.
Correct.
All right. If that man is giving you that environment where you feel that you're able to let loose of some of that masculine energy, I would think if you do it, you would feel better. You would feel less stressed. You would feel more at ease.
I
That is
agree.
my opinion. I'm not a woman, so I don't know.
You definitely aren't. And I agree to that statement. But I don't know. And I guess I'm speaking from my own experience of having bumped into somebody who is extremely masculine and not knowing even I presented those qualities until he said something. And then it was like, well, hell, what am I supposed to do? Because I've always been this. That I had that about myself. And again, not because I've wanted to, it's because my life has made an environment where that's all I could be, you know? I'm not going to throw the whole coming from a single parent home and dad's not in the picture and seeing my mom have to hustle and hustle. I learned from her. And then my brother being extremely masculine. Um, we've just learned to, if we want something, you go for it. And that's a masculine quality. And I've operated in that, and it's allowed me to get where I'm at today in life. So it's worked well for me in that regard. You know what I'm saying? Like my kids haven't had to want for anything. Thank you, Lord. If there was something I wanted, like I did what I needed to do to make it happen within the law. Everybody who's listening, I didn't do illegal stuff because it's not illegal unless you get caught. So so bumping into somebody who was like, whoa, like tone it down, tone that stuff down. And at first, not knowing what that was, like, what is that stuff? Like, I'm just being me. So, again, having to learn a different way of being when I'm around that individual was, it took some time. So, here's the question: when a male is in that position, say a male has told their partner, like, whoa, that's just too much, like, that's my energy, and you need to get your own. How do you provide space or grace for that individual to kind of make the adjustment? Because it's not something we can do that quickly. Like if we've been doing it our whole life, there's going to be a time where we're going to have to learn to be a different way. And when or how can a male support somebody through that? Like, so if you were talking to a man who's like, yeah, she's cool and everything, but man, look, like she's way too masculine, and you know, if she's really trying to tone it down, like what are ways a male can kind of be that support to allow her to do that?
My opinion, and again, I'm no relationship expert at all, but I would say that you know you have to have understanding. Understand why. I always like to say the why is more important than the how. So understand why she's like that, and from everything you said, it sounds like if you can give her that sense that, hey, I got this part. You just be the nurturer. You just be the comforter. You just be, just be a woman. Not to. I know we're in a society now where people don't like to have labels, but I just think men and women are different. Not one's better than the other, but we're different physically, psychologically, emotionally. We're just different. So tell her it's okay. Not tell her, show her it's okay. Show her it's okay to let her guard down. Show her she doesn't have to be tense and ready to fight. That's what you're for. Show her that she doesn't have to worry about everything. You know, You know, you got this, I got that. You know, when you see her, you know, don't treat her like, oh, it disgusts me when you do this. You know, don't treat her like that. Just, hey, baby, I got it. Or, don't worry about that. You know, just, you're doing it again. You know, just don't make it lighthearted, as lighthearted as you can when you're bringing it up. That would be my suggestion. And again, like I said, understand, why she's coming from that space, and just kind of guide her to a softer side.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. That was so eloquently put, David.
Such an embellisher. I like that.
Oh my goodness. Question. So, and this is going back to the emotionally, the intelligent part of learning your partner. Because if you have somebody who's really trying to be in that space and she feels safe with the individual now, and okay, so she starts to let her guard down and everything, shouldn't the male be able to pick up then if something's feeling off or she's not feeling safe or her safety is being questioned? She's starting to put back on that masculine energy. Would it be fair to say, if the male is being receptive or has that emotional intelligence that you spoke about earlier, he should be able to note that or pick up on that and say, okay, something must be making her feel not safe because she's picking up this energy again? Like, would that be a fair statement for females who are listening to feel that their partner should be able to pick up on?
He should be able to. He should. Yes, he should. He should. But again, we all have different things going on in our lives. So if you're picking up, or if you're having feelings, or you're having an uneasiness about things, speak to your partner. Talk to him. Let him know. Don't just assume he should know, because we're not mind readers. Men are not mind readers. So, it's good to, bring those things up so you guys can talk about it. And I think open dialogue, in my opinion, is probably the best solution for any issue you're having in a relationship.
So you're saying communication. Communication is key.
Effective communication is key.
Effective. Oh, very good. Effective, because everything communicated sometimes does not come across the way it was intended, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, effective communication. So good. Okay, so we've talked about what equally yoked means to you, and what your opinion is of that, and how females can kind of adjust when they have to interact in a masculine energy for so long when they're meeting up with a partner who is very masculine himself. But what about resentment in men? Okay, so this is where we're talking about ego. Like, men and females, ego is an issue. So if you're dealing with a male who has a fragile ego, does that take away from his masculinity? And if it does, in what way?
I would say that it only takes away from his masculinity if he deals with it in a feminine way.
Oh, can you go deeper with that statement, sir?
And again, I'm not saying, masculine energy is good and feminine energy is bad. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that, the way a lot of
really, we're all friends here.
Are we really? Well, this is a cancel culture, so I have to be careful. But no, I think some men don't have masculine examples growing up, so the only way they know how to deal with issues, the only way they know how to communicate is feminine ways. So
which are
I don't want to be specific, but I mean, you know, being passive aggressive, not being clear, not being, assertive, not being able to communicate without yelling and cursing and,
wow.
fighting, things of that
Hold
nature.
on, hold on, hold on. Time out. Time out. So you're saying those behaviors are feminine? Because I don't curse. I don't argue. I don't do passive aggressive. I'm straightforward. If you piss me off, I'm gonna let you know. So is that me being a masculine energy because I'm communicating that you've pissed me off? Am I supposed to be yelling and crying and being passive aggressive? Because that's the
So I ask you this. I won't answer that, but I will ask you a question. Of the women you've known over your lifetime, how many deal with conflict the way you just described versus the way you deal with conflict?
well, the female that I was around the most was my mother, and she was not a somebody who threw things, was passive aggressive or anything like that. She was
Okay.
very
And again, most women that you know, if you would say, if you know 100 women or you've known 100 women
Amen.
in your lifetime,
I don't have friends. I don't know. Everybody knows I
again,
don't have friends. And I hardly
okay.
interact with my family. Okay, I'll stop being a jerk. So
Again, to answer the question, I would say, and from my experience with women, not that it's a lot, but most women that I interact with, even in the workplace, I mean, it's not.
let it out. Let it out, Davian.
No, I'm trying to word it correctly and not come off as a sexist jerk, which I am not. So I don't
Are
want to come
you?
off
Are you
that
not?
way. I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't think so.
He's
I
not,
love,
ladies. He's not a
I love women.
sexist jerk. Do
Um,
you?
yeah, yeah.
That's
How
good to
can
hear.
not. But I would say that being reserved, especially when you're in emotional turmoil, is not a quality that most women have.
Are you saying women bring chaos?
Those are not words that I've spoken here. but would you not agree with that?
I can't agree with it because that's not me. So it's not my
Well, we're
experience.
not talking about you. We're just talking
Oh,
about in
okay.
general.
Here we
Like, so
go.
you've never had any or seen any women in any type of
Yes.
emotional interaction.
Okay. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Yes, I have. But here's the flip side to that. Here's the flip side. I've seen men that way too, and it's usually using their fists. It's usually using their aggression in a negative way. So so why is it that it seems that females, if they're doing this, that, and the other, that's a female quality, but then a man who is a masculine who's using his force in a negative way. So does that mean when a female gets physical? And for anybody listening, I am not anybody in an abusive relationship. That's a no. That's everybody knows how I feel about that. I'm just using this as an example. Davian is saying females get all loud and cryy and throw stuff and all passive aggressive and wham, and that's females. But then men who can throw stuff, kick stuff, and use their strength as force, that's still an emotional expression. So a male who's doing that, are you saying they're feminine?
Uh, I would say they haven't learned how to deal with their emotions in a masculine way. Yes.
Interesting. Interesting.
I would say that, but I'm not, any type of relationship expert, psychological, major, anything like that. So I'm just speaking from my opinion and experience.
Yeah, and same here, and that's all I can do as well. But it brings value to the conversation because I look at you in high regard when it comes to a lot of things. I'll never repeat that again. So hopefully you made a mental note.
Oh, I wrote it down. I'm taking notes.
So the fact that you bring that to the table, hopefully that allows any females who were listening up to the last podcast to know that like there's like people out there who are not intimidated by that drive. And it goes back to the topic of the discussion being matched, having a mindset that's matched. In the previous podcast, they said you really need to be either at the same level or him being a little bit even more driven than you are. Would you agree to that?
Again, it depends on your age, and it depends on where you are in life. But if that's what you value, then yes. If that's where you place value when you're looking for a mate, then I would agree with that.
Okay, okay. So you're saying if you
are you saying for women or for men?
I'm saying for both. Well, I guess for a woman in the sense of we were told, or an example was, just don't be with somebody, don't connect or be with somebody who doesn't match your mindset. Don't be with somebody who you're so far ahead that you're having to drag this person behind you. And you need to find somebody who's at your level or further, at a higher pace. So you would be able to function and not deal with the resentment, because resentment is a real thing. And then we were talking about that earlier about a male's ego. And a male, look, you can say a female this, that, and the other, and soft and vulnerable and all that stuff, but a lot of men, in my experience that I've dealt with, have fragile egos.
Oh, it's very fragile, yes.
So it's kind of like when a female steps to the table and basically they don't need the individual for anything, but they want him, right? So it's not like, I don't need you to pay a bill. I don't need you to do this. I don't need you to do that. I got all that. I just need you to be present. I just need you to be there for me in an emotional aspect, but they don't know how to function in that because paying bills and money and this, that, and the other is what they feel is an expression of whatever. But if the female doesn't need that, like the podcast and other males that I've spoken to feel that they don't have anything to bring to the table. So what's the point? So how do you maneuver around that? Because it speaks to the female as, okay, well, you can't do all this or be all this because it's going to hurt fragile egos. So you're saying just find somebody who has not a fragile ego? Is that even a word?
That I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer for that. I'm not trying to avoid answering the question. Like, I really just don't feel that you can say, because I'll be honest, I don't think most driven men want a driven woman. Most driven men are driven because they want to have the money and the status so they can have the trophy wife that sits at home and make babies and pick out curtains. And I'm not saying that to be funny, but I think that's what American, TV shows, all the shows we saw on TV coming up, the movies, that's what they presented. Is it not? The Disney cartoons. Did I lose you?
No.
Did you scream at me?
I was on mute for a second.
Did you mute and scream at me?
You have no idea. So what you're saying is most driven men don't want a driven female.
And that's why I said I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer for that.
So what does that leave us females who are driven? Like, I'm not just going to sit by, like,
even if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'm still going to be doing something in my field because it's what I'm put on this planet to do. Like, it is my goal, my passion, my calling. I'm not, no one's ever going to look at me and say, I want to marry that chick because she's going to cook and freaking pick out curtains. Like, that's not who I am. But then you're saying driven men don't want driven women. So then
I just said I don't think most want that. But I would to as a response to what you just said, I would think, more so instead of, you know, you should find someone as driven as you are. I think the goal is, as an adult, should be one, find your purpose, find your calling. Two, find a mate that has their purpose and their calling. I think that's more important than being driven.
but isn't it an example of iron sharpens iron? Like, I can't be with a weak male. Like, I literally cannot. Like, it makes my skin crawl to think of being with a weak man. Like, I don't want to be the man in the relationship. However, comma, I can't stop being who I am. And if I want something, I'm what, quote unquote, air quotes, a go-getter. Like, if I want it, I'm going to get it.
But can he be a weak, not to cut you off, but can he be a weak man if he's found his calling and his purpose in life and he's working towards it or living in it? Because that's going to give you a conviction that you're not going to have otherwise.
No, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think for me, weakness would be, that's a hard one. I don't want to answer it. So
no, I had to do it. You made me do it. Don't do me like that.
So I think
set me up for the slaughter and then you back out. Nah.
I think when I'm thinking of a weak male is somebody who does not take responsibility for their behaviors, doesn't take accountability for their behaviors, and looks out externally to blame everything else for things or situations they've gotten themselves into. Playing the victim, to me, that's a weakness.
But that's a boy. That's not a man.
Okay, touche. But from the dialogue that you just said and the dialogue that we got before, well, actually yours was more kind of gloomy because you're saying most driven men, because I can't be with somebody who doesn't have that. Like, you have to have a direction or something. Like, if you don't, then what are you doing? You're just blowing in the wind, right? Don't you need foundation?
I would agree with that.
So, but you're saying people like that want somebody who's picking out curtains.
I didn't say all. I didn't say all.
All right. So,
but a lot of them, a lot of them do.
So
they want
to. Okay. So as we get closer to wrapping this up, I want you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And that's why I said earlier, I know you said we're getting close to wrapping it up. That's why I said earlier is if you're in a situation where you're not getting what you want from that relationship, then you have to move on as quickly as possible. And not saying that you have to be a serial dater, but you have to vet people and, find the one that you're looking for, because it's not easy to find, and you're not going to find it on POF.
What is that?
I mean, your listeners know. You're not going to find it on Bumble, or, you're not going to find it there. If you're looking for a certain type of man, then you have to, be in the circles that those type of men are in. And you're going to have to sift through those to find the ones that are looking for a driven woman that they can have an intellectual conversation with, that they can come to for advice. I couldn't be with someone that I couldn't ask, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. These are the pros. These are the cons. I'm thinking about doing this. which one should I go with? And she's like, oh, I don't know, just do what you think, baby. Like, I can't do that. Like, I need to have a real conversation, and I need you to be insightful, and I need you to be able to, give me pros and cons in a real way. And that's just me. But every man isn't like that.
Gotcha. So your advice to the females who were listening, and females who were listening, who listened to the last one, it was kind of like really disheartened with it. I'm hoping this podcast episode is kind of making you feel a little bit better. I don't know how much, but I guess what we can say is, LaShawn on the last one said, just leave. And, and they were just kind of very, if you're intimidating, a lot of the men will look for somebody else who is not intimidating, that they can feel like they're bringing something to the table. And Davian's kind of hinting to the same thing, but he's saying, it's not a cookie cutter thing, but you have to put yourself in the circles to find who you're looking for. And it's all just exhausting. And relationships aren't meant to be easy. So I will say that, like, relationship takes work. If relationships take work, but if you are not connected with somebody in the same mindset from the jump, it's going to be that big of a challenge. And that could be either growth mindset or fixed mindset, right? If you're not with somebody if you're somebody who needs that push, who wants that interaction, like Davian was talking about, you're looking for somebody with a growth mindset. Like, yeah, you can do this. Let's do it. What do you need? What support you need? This, that, and the other. Let's do it. Versus if you're that energy and you're with somebody who's like, the example that he gave you, so having a matched mindset that way, intelligence to me is huge. I'm not matched with somebody who's extremely intelligent or is even smarter, where I feel like I need to do more. My partner needs me. I need to feel like I want to better myself. Like I'm always talking about personal growth never being an end game. Like you should always be striving for better. But that's because I'm from a growth mindset. I'm not from that fixed mindset where people are like, it is what it is. So all of these things are things that you want to consider. But like Davian said, you want to put yourself in the circles of who you're trying to find. And it feels like the Hunger Games. It really does, right? So yeah, hopefully this episode has made some improvements, that there's people out there who want somebody who's driven. You know what? I didn't ask you that, Davian. So if you, being a driven, highly intelligent, extremely successful male that you are, would you state that it sounded like you're more focused on somebody who has that growth mentality, right?
I would say that, but more importantly, like I said, if they know their purpose and their calling in life, that's probably more important.
So knowing a purpose, calling in life, and growth mindset, ladies, that's what he's looking for. You run into somebody that you feel you're not connected to, or you're not at the same level, get out as soon as possible. Wow. That sounds like I just did a whole safety plan. Why do you think it's so much more difficult for females than men?
I don't think it is. I think it's equally as difficult for both.
How? It's like a crazy double standard. Like, be like
What's the double standard?
Be like this out in the streets, but when you come home, I need you in lingerie, cooking food and making me a sandwich. Like, that's a double freaking standard.
But that's easy. No, I'm joking.
And that is where we're going to end this episode, because that's going to be a topic for a whole nother day. So hopefully Davian will be a regular to share all his Davianisms with us. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to process this podcast as well, but I want to say thank you so much for being here and talking to the people, and hopefully you'll be back, right?
Thanks for having me.
You didn't answer the question.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Wow. JERK. Yeah. All right. You guys take care. Thanks for listening. And hopefully we'll get Davian back for some more episodes so he can share his knowledge. And you guys take care and be safe out there. Bye.